Hey, Brad.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, do me a favor, brother. So what I'll do is go ahead and hover over my name real quick and click the three dots, and you should see on there make host. Do you see that? Okay. What I'll do is I'll unlock the ability to screen share. So now you should still have access to screen share and do everything. But what this should have done. What this should have done was allowed me to broadcast this. Interesting. Okay. Okay. It looks like we may just have to record and may just have to record and upload later.
I think it's recording right now.
It is, yeah. I think you may have clicked the option to already record it, which is okay because we've only got a couple minutes before we start here.
Are you seeing the PowerPoint with not my notes?
Correct. Yeah, I see your what you would as if you were in the presenter mode.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm not sharing my notes.
No, you're good, brother.
Okay.
You got any questions at all? It should be. It looks like you got it all set up and should be good to go.
Yeah, me and the wife went through it a little bit earlier this morning to make sure my mic, because I got about a boom mic.
Okay. Right on.
About a week.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
I want to make sure it's all set up and ready to go and whatnot.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's perfect. It's a little visitor, huh?
Yeah. Daddy's home, so she wants to play.
Right.
Hey, girl. You want to go down with Mama for now? Come on. Come on. All right. Ready to go?
Yeah. Whenever you are, brother. Yeah, just lead off with the intro real quick, and yeah, we can get started with systems thinking.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching this, be it on Facebook or through Zoom. I know each of you have important work to do within your work centers, but thanks for taking the time to spend it here this morning. It's going to be short, simple, to the point. Um, there are individuals within the installation that are better suited for this than I am, but it's something I really enjoy, and I think it's beneficial to everybody to just get a basic learning of. Just first, a little bit of rules of engagement, and then I'll get into the summary of what we'll be covering this morning. So some rules of engagement before we get started. Please keep your camera on during this time and mic muted. allows all members to be able to hear with minimal background interference. And then please get my attention before asking any questions, especially with the internet that will delay that some of us may be experiencing. And again, thank you for your attendance this morning. I know this is taking time out of your schedule. During the course this morning, we'll be discussing what a learning organization is and how it ties in with systems thinking. And this may be able to help you better manage your work centers, as well as helping you in the future as well. So the use of learning organizations within the military organization is a practice that most of us use daily, and just call it something completely different. All right. The practices that are discussed throughout this have originated from Peter Senge, who is a professor at MIT and can be revered as a godfather when it comes to learning organizations. When you look up any of the items that are listed within the on this slide here, his name is the first and foremost that comes up, and every author will reference one work. It's the fifth discipline by him. All right. Within that book, it goes into much more detail and covers this. If you want more information on this, please get with me. I have no problem helping you find more information about this. According to the fifth discipline, learning organizations are organizations where people continually expand their capacity to create the results they truly desire, where new and expensive patterns are thinking are nurtured, where collective aspiration is set free, and where people are continually learning to see the whole together. In a nutshell, learning organization is a place where processes are continuously getting better. All right. Take for instance, companies that were traditionally brick and mortar that were being overtaken via online sales. What would happen had a department that was not allowed to think outside the box to create a process to rival their competitors? Think about processes within your own work centers. Are you promoting a continuous learning environment to take our Air Force into the future? All right. Systems thinking. Instead of focusing on individual issues, system thinking reflects on observational process of an entire system. Managers must understand that every action and consequence is correlated to another. Many times it happens that managers focus on individual actions and therefore forget about seeing the big picture. When the correlation is understood, it enables us to see interrelationships and patterns of change in particular situations. Managers will be able to determine cause and effect throughout. Personal mastery occurs when individuals have a clear vision of a goal combined with accurate perception of reality. The gap between the vision and reality drives the employee to practice all necessary related activities to visualize the vision. This creative tension depends on a clear understanding of the current reality. According to Peter Senge, we should train our subordinates' mind because it can handle more complex problems quicker than what our consciousness can. When people believe in their own powerlessness, it will hold them back from realizing their vision. For this reason, we should train a subconscious mind to tackle the stress and problems in reality. Basically, what we're saying right here is, as you can see, it's a commitment to a lifelong learning, right? Identifying personal vision and ability to accomplish. The biggest takeaway from this is sit back and identify what do you want your life to be? Where do you see yourself, right? Creating your vision and mission statement for yourself. Just like the Air Force has one, our organizations have one, the wing has one. What is your personal vision and mission statement? And it can be as simple as what gets you up in the morning, all right? What makes you be you? Be it family, aspirations, promotions, you want more money? So just think about those types of things, right? mental models. According to Peter Senge, the employees must identify the values of the company and what the business is all about. A correct understanding of who we are will enable us to visualize where to go and how to develop further. The organization has to be flexible in accepting changes to new mental models and a new image of the company. The most successful companies are those who can learn and adapt to new models to become faster than its competitors. So what a mental model is, when you think about it, is preconceived notions, right? We're seeing this, unfortunately, with the issues that are going on in America, right? Most people have preconceived notions now that all cops are bad, right? Which may or may not be the case. But that's a preconceived notion. So when individuals see police officers, that's the first thing that pops in their mind, right? Just because of the actions of a few. So if you step back and clear your mind and look at it from different perspectives, you can block out those mental models and try to understand from all angles, right? Building a shared vision. In learning organizations, a vision should be created through interaction with the employees in the enterprise. Many leaders have personal visions that lack transferring them to a shared vision. The only way to create a shared vision is by compromising the organization and individual's vision. People who do not share the same vision might not contribute as much to the organization. The effect of sharing the same vision is that employees do tasks because they want to do so instead of they are told to do so. It changes the relationship within the company and it turns its performances in a learning mechanism. What this thing in a nutshell is, sit down with your airmen, NCOs, and even your senior NCOs and develop that shared vision between each tier, and then take those and develop your own personal vision for your flight, your sections. That way everybody has a stake in what your flight's doing. Because if people don't believe in what they're doing, it's going to be hard to get that buy-in in order for things to happen, right? So take the time out and listen to what people have to say. And then last is team learning. To accomplish excellent functional team dynamics, team learning is of primary importance. It's a discipline by which personal mastery and shared vision are brought together. It is crucial for the workforce to consider its colleagues as team members instead of rivals. It is the first step to set up dialogues wherein people dare to be vulnerable and express real personalities. The working environment should be safe where honest mistakes are forgiven. Otherwise, no learning can be experienced. Mistakes happen, right? Don't hammer somebody. Mistakes happen. I mean, obviously, if it's a life or death or destruction of property, then, right, I ain't gonna say hammer them, but drive home that, hey, this can't be happening. Whereas if someone messes up paperwork, why yell at them? What is that really going to accomplish other than stifle their ability and willingness to learn? So learn together as a team. Take that opportunity to be like, hey, let's sit down and figure out what happened here and figure out a better way forward. As discussed previously, the systems thinking was originally named by Peter Senge as the fifth discipline of a learning organization. Some have called systems thinking the new dismal science because it teaches that most obvious solutions don't work. At best, they improve matters in the short run, only to make things worse in the long run. Systems thinking requires a shift in a mindset away from a linear thought process to a circular process, right? That instead of things going that they're straight across the board, that it goes in a circle, right? Um, that there's a reason for everything that happens. The fundamental principle of this shift is that everything is interconnected. Essentially, everything is reliant upon something else for survival, right? Humans need food, air, and water to sustain our bodies, and trees need carbon dioxide and sunlight to thrive. Everything needs something, often a complex array of other things to survive. So when we say everything is interconnected from a system thinking perspective, we're defining a fundamental principle of life. From this, we can shift the way we see the world from a linear, structured, mechanical worldview to a dynamic, chaotic, interconnected array of relationships and feedback loops. So as you see here, I got three areas that's really highlighted. Use cautiously, use to sift out major issues and factors, and these are not to understand systems, right? So what we're looking at with major issues and factors, system thinking can help you break through a clutter of everyday events to recognize general patterns of behavior and the structure that are producing them. It also helps with separating solutions from underlying problems. Too often we identify problems in terms of their solution. For example, the problem is that we may have too many fill in the blank, right? We have too many people, too many initiatives, too many steps in our processes. Or the problem is we have too little resources, information, budget, etc. Nowadays, we can probably fill in that last one. We have too little resources, right? We don't have enough people. And this is kind of where the ASLO 21, right? Where that kind of comes into play. Think about our processes, and instead of like we were saying, a linear loop, or not loop, but a linear line, look at it more as circular. How does every little thing affect? What process are we doing that maybe we can take one person from this process and add them to another process to better close the gap and make all processes better, right? Like I said, use it cautiously though. Not everything can be looked at in a circular. Some things are cut and dry. It all depends. Sit back, think about it. Don't act don't fly off the handle and act right then and there. Sit back, think, okay, what are some possible situations that may have occurred? So right here, we got a quote from Archimedes. Give me a lever long enough, and single-handed, I can move the world. What this saying, system thinkers refer to this principle as leverage, right? Tackling a difficult problem is often a matter of seeing where the high leverage lies, a change which, with a minimum of effort, would lead to lasting significant improvement. The only problem is that high leverage changes are usually non-obvious to most participants in the system. They are not close in time and space to obvious problem symptoms. That is what makes life interesting. Yeah, I can't really say too much more about this. I mean, the quote kind of says it by itself. With enough leverage, you can do anything. So and that's kind of what we were going back to earlier. Use cautiously, but use it when needed. When using system thinking, look at everything that could possibly be there. So this is just one example, right? This is the one that I took out of the book, The Fifth Discipline. So we see here how, right, we're in a linear. In the top image here, we got roots of war on terrorism. the United States establishment, for example, has been governed by a viewpoint that essentially resembled the thoughts in the top line, right? So terrorist attacks, threats to Americans, automatically we need to respond militarily, right? We've been doing that for the last 19, 20 years, right? And then what happens because of that? U.S. militarily, U.S. military activity automatically perceived aggressiveness from the U.S. Terrorists start retreating, right? So because of that, everybody's looking at it from a linear standpoint. However, when we go to the next slide, here, everything goes in a circle, right? Terrorist attacks, threats to Americans, need to respond militarily. U.S. military activity, perceived aggressiveness of the U.S. Terrorist recruit, boom, terrorist attack now. So you kind of see how everything starts going in a circle. That's why I was saying use systems thinking cautiously. Not everything needs to be into a systems thinking. So sit back, think about it. Where do I need to do this, or can I end the line, right? So the system view of the war on terrorism shows a perpetual cycle of aggression. The United States responds to perceived threat by increasing U.S. military activities, which increase perceived aggressiveness of the U.S., which leads to more terrorist recruits, which eventually leads to more terrorist activities, increases the threat to the U.S., more activities, which increases recruits, so on and so forth. From their individual viewpoints, each side focuses on a short-term goal. Both sides respond to perceived threats, but their actions end up creating an escalating danger for everyone. Here, as in many systems, doing the obvious thing does not produce the obvious desired outcome. The longer-term result of each side's efforts is heightened insecurity for everybody. So, like I said, use it cautiously. That's the biggest takeaway from all of this. Is not everything is going to go into systems thinking or the linear and circular viewpoint, but some things can be, right? So here we got different system archetypes. There are several different ones, and they are all interesting. But the three I'm going to focus on right now is limits to growth, shifting the burden, and success to the successful. So limits to growth, definition by trade is a reinforcing or amplifying process that is set. A reinforcing / amplifying process is set in motion to produce a desired result. It creates a spiral of success, but also creates inadvertent secondary effects manifested in a balancing process, which eventually slow down the success. In each case of limiting growth, is a reinforcing or amplifying process of growth or improvement that operates on its own for a period of time. Then it runs up against a balancing or stabilizing process, which operates to limiting the growth. When it's happened, the rate of improvement slows down or even comes to a standstill. So, kind of one way to put this in motion, right? Limits to growth. Put this in a little bit of perspective is promotions during the past years, right? We were looking at mass amounts of promotion, right? Just constant. During the early 2000s, mid to late 2000s. And everything's going great. Everybody's getting promoted. Everybody's happy. Morale is high. The rate of the force, or the members in the force, were substantial. And then what happened? All of a sudden, basically, we reached our growth, and people started getting promoted. Morale starts dropping because we limited the growth in which we could do. Staff sergeants weren't allowed. I ain't gonna say weren't allowed to be staff sergeants no more, but the amount of staff sergeant type jobs and even tech sergeant jobs were starting to become lower. So our NCOs and even some senior NCOs weren't allowed, just by the nature of needing our lack of jobs, to be in their tier that they need to be and learn for the most part. I ain't gonna say this was the case in all career fields, but for the most, you saw a lot of staff sergeants still doing senior airman type jobs, tech sergeants doing staff sergeant jobs, and this really hurt their growth as a whole. And so now we're kind of seeing the repercussions of that, the growth limiting factor. So the next one is shifting the burden. As we see here, it's an underlying problem that generates symptoms that demand attention. But the underlying problem is difficult for people to address either because it's obscure or costly to confront. So people shift the burden of their problems to other solutions. Well intended, easy fixes, which seem extremely efficient, unfortunately, easy solutions only ameliorate the symptoms. They leave the underlying problems unaltered, though. The underlying problem grows worse unnoticed because the symptoms apparently cleared up and the system loses whatever abilities it had to solve the underlying problem. This is called Band-Aid fixes. I'm sure a lot of us have seen these, unfortunately. I know during my time in the IG office, we saw quite a few of these that it was easier to slap a Band-Aid on it rather than confront the underlying issue and get it fixed. Shifting the burden structures, like I said, are common in our personal as well as organizational lives. They come into play when there's obvious symptoms or problems that cry for attention and quick and ready fixes that can make these symptoms go away, at least for a little while. Right? So consider the problem of stress that comes when our personal workload increases beyond our capabilities to deal with it effectively. We juggle work, family, community involvement in a never-ending blur of activity. The workload increases beyond our capabilities, which tends to happen for us all. The fundamental solution is to limit the workload. This can be tough. It may mean passing up a promotion that will entail more travel, a different job, or it may mean declining a position that could probably help you on that promotion or whatever the case may be. It means prioritizing and making choices. Instead, people are often tempted to juggle faster, relieving the stress with alcohol, drugs, or a more benign form of stress reduction, such as exercise or meditation. But of course, drinking doesn't solve the problem of overwork. It only masks the problem by temporarily relieving that stress. Problem comes back, and so does the need for drinking. Insidiously, the shifting burden structure, if not interrupted, generates force that are all too familiar in contemporary society. These are the dynamics of avoidance, the result of which decreasing dependency and ultimately addiction. If you go the route of alcohol, drugs, or other areas that can cause addiction. So kind of what I was saying, it's a Band-Aid fix. You're not getting to the overall fix of what's happening. So instead of, like I was saying here, trying to mask that stress with alcohol, exercise, not thinking about it, whatever the case may be, figure out what is causing you that stress, and then talk with your peers, your coworkers, and be like, hey, can I divvy some of this up to you guys? Can someone help me out, please? And this is things that the Air Force talks to us about all the time. If you're feeling stressed, talk to somebody. Because all you're really doing, if you don't, is you're shifting that burden of whatever the problem is. And the last one here that we're going to talk about is success to the successful. It's two activities compete for limited support or resources. The more successful one becomes, the more support it gains, thereby starving the other. All right. In this story that I'll give you here, supervisor has 2 airmen and wishes to bring both along equally in the office, right? They both have the same amount of potential. They're great at what they do. However, one of the 2 ends up getting preferential treatment because the other is out on leave for a substantial amount of time. When the second airman returns to work, the supervisor feels guilty and avoids the individual, thereby giving more opportunity to the first airman still. The first airman feeling the approval flourishes and therefore gets more opportunity. Kind of see that circular motion going again, right? Second airman feeling insecure does less effective work, receives fewer opportunities, although the 2 people had equal ability in the beginning. So by looking at this archetype of success to the successful, what you've done, instead of looking at both of these airmen being at capital A, right? Not little airmen. Look at if both individuals are deserving of whatever the case is, right? They're both top-notch NCOs, airmen, senior NCOs, then give both individuals opportunity, because what happens is you start stifling individuals when you're showing that preferential treatment, and that leads back to that limits to growth again. Because as we see at the end of the story, the second airman feeling insecure does less effective work and receives fewer opportunities. And that right there in itself starts circling around into that circular motion, what they call feedback loop. So as we see in the picture here, get success or of a resources, you continue on resource to A, and then allocation to A instead of B, is that surplus continuously goes and it breaks the loop of B. So if you've got, just be cognizant of that in your mind. If you kind of start seeing that slip towards going that within that archetype, take a step back again, break that mental model in that systems thinking process, and figure out, okay, what's going on here. Sit down with that airman and see if that might be the case. So in summary, like I said, we talked about 5 principles of a learning organization, kind of went over briefly about what system thinking is. Like I said, breaking that linear thought process into a more circular, using it cautiously, however, and then leveraging and cause and effect of systems thinking, and then system archetypes and how they fit into systems thinking. Is there any questions from those who have joined us? I want to say thank you again for taking time out of your day to watch this. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you too. I was going to try to ask, is it possible for me to get a copy of the slides that you had for the earlier parts that I missed? Because I had some technical issues when I was trying to do it from my cell phone.
Yeah, I believe, Chris, these are going to be up on Facebook.
Yeah, these will be, so as soon as the video downloads, it'll be, I'll ask it, Sergeant Moore to send it over to me, and then I'll post it onto Eielson Connect.
Oh, okay, awesome, perfect.
Thanks, Sergeant Jackson. Appreciate it, brother.
No worries. You have a nice day.
You do the same.
Yep.
All right. You can go ahead and stop recording, or just end it and it'll stop recording, brother.
All right.